What's up, guys? Santa OMG here. I'm just going to be going through and teaching y'all just basically why it's a good idea for you guys to learn how to build chords and just basic chord theory, like which chords are in which key, how to use chord progressions to create your bass lines and melodies, and I'm going to be showing you guys some popular chord progressions that you can kind of just use as your go-to to kind of experiment with some stuff. This could be used for any genre, so I have multiple examples in different genres, so here are my examples. This one is a classic rock type thing. Right, and here's little like classic hip hop type thing. Here's like a little progressive rap pop type thing.
Yeah, I'm stunting on your hoes. Don't give a fuck about my dirty clothes, man. Just washed them in the dryer, no hands. Going hard for my city, going ham.
Right? Here is like a little trap thing.
Yeah, coming through, I got the coke. Fuck a bitch, hope that she choke. Yeah, shoot up your city and that ain't no joke. One hit wonder that ain't going broke. Yeah, I run through these streets, got an AK. I make these beats getting straight A's. Got 30 racks on 3 chains. My raps go harder than 2 chains.
Alright, and here's like a progressive house thing. Alright, with that being said, this video is probably going to be a little long, so I have timestamps in the bottom of the description box, so y'all can just skip through and go to the part that y'all want to see or whatever. Alright, so basically, the things that I want you guys to take away from this lesson is how to build chords, how to know, and then how to know which chords can be used in which keys, and how to use chords to build on your to build your bass lines on and build your lead melodies on, and just then I'll be going through some common chord progressions that you can use as your go-to. So this classic rock thing is very, very simple. These chords are just G major right here, F major, C major, and then G major again, but it's a different inversion. How do I know this is a G major chord? Well, I go over this, I think, in lesson 1 or lesson 2 of my music theory for beginners, but basically each scale has its own set of chords, okay? So that's the C major scale, and each major scale has different chords that'll work with it. So like for a major key, it goes major chord, minor chord, minor chord, major chord, major chord, minor chord, diminished. So it's like major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. So this is in the key of C major. So I know that G major will work in this key. Okay? And so will F major, and so will C major. And that's what I built this on. It's a simple what's called 5-4-1, and then back to 5 chord progression. Basically, what the 5-4-1 means is, see how we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 5th note in the scale. The G is the 5th note. That means it's the 5th note, and the G major chord is the 5th chord in this key. So that's the 5, right? G5, or G is the 5th chord, then F is the 4th, and then C is the 1. So we have G major, F major, that's 5, 4, and then C major is the 1. And then we go back to G major. which this G major chord and this G major chord, they look different, but that's just called an inversion, which is basically when you have G, the notes of a G major chord is G, B, and D. So we got G, we got D, and then we have B on the bottom. It doesn't matter where these notes are in terms of octaves. As long as those three notes are present, that's a G major chord. So this one has the B on the top. Well, I put the B on the bottom here, so it isn't the exact same as this when it loops around. It helps with progression. See? Sounds like a different chord. That's good for progression. And that's another thing that I want y'all to play around with is inversions. Just take a chord and like just mess with inversions. You know, like put the F on the top, put the F on the bottom, whatever. Most chord progressions, well, not most. Chord progressions in general are written with Roman numerals. All right. So I got these Roman numerals right here. So it's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't think that you need to know past 7, but basically the only confusing thing for me is the 6 and the 4. I just remember 4 is IV and 6 is VI, and the rest is pretty self-explanatory. V is 5. So if I were to say, yeah, this is a 5, 4, 1, I would just say V, IV, and then 1 if I were writing it out. Okay. And as far as using these chords to build your bass line, what I did for this bass line is I just stuck to the root notes of each chord. So we got the G major, so I used the G as the root, right? And then I used I walked up the G chord a little bit for this. See, it's the same note right here in my chords. I played the B, so I just, right? Basically what I'm getting at is use your chords when building bass lines. Usually you're going to want to follow the chords and the bass lines together. Okay? Like I could have picked any note from this chord and it probably would sound good. So if I move the G up to B, it's a little dissonant, but it works, right? If it was like A, it doesn't sound as good. If it's like E, it doesn't sound as good. Like it doesn't sound as, I guess you could use the term basic. And it just depends on what sound you're going for. You know what I'm saying? But a good starting point is to use the notes of your chord. So I could either go B, I could go D, or I could go G. And in this case, G sounded the best to me for the sound that I was going for. So tip number 1, use your chords to build your bass lines. And you see right here, because this was the sound that I was going for, I even went out of key with this F sharp. But that's the thing about music theory. You don't need to follow it to the T. It's just a guideline to help you get started and help you to name things and help you to be like, oh, this will probably work. You know what I'm saying? Because F isn't in a G major chord, G, B, D. But that's the sound I was going for. And F sharp isn't even in the key, you know? Right? But it sounds good. That sounds how I want it to sound. And then this chord right here, this is a C, E, A. Yeah. Yeah, that's an A minor. That's an A minor right there. And then we have C, D, and G. That's called a sus chord. So what a sus chord is say you have a G, B, and a D. A sus chord is when, see, it's G, B, D. Well, I took one of the notes. I took the third note, right? B is the third note. G, B, D. I took the third note and I moved it up a note in the scale. And that's what's called a sus 4. So this is a G sus 4 right here. There are sus 2s is when you move it down a key in the scale. So going from B to A would be a sus 2. Going from B to C would be a sus 4. Just look up sus chords and kind of read over that. And it's simple. And that's what I use to kind of like to kind of level up into the A minor chord. So that's another tip. Use sus chords. So that's basically that. This right here is a little bit different because hip hop doesn't have that much progression usually. But you can still use chords, obviously. Right? So what this is an ACE, that's an A minor chord, and this is a DFA, which is a D minor chord. And this is in the key of A minor. And A minor is the relative minor to C major. So every major key has what's called a relative minor. So what a relative minor is a minor key that has all the same notes as a major key. So C major has C, D, E, F, G, A, B, all the white keys. Well, A minor has the same exact notes. Okay, they both have the same exact notes. So that's another thing that I wanted to throw in there. Relative minors. Just go look up a chart for relative minors, and you'll be able to learn about that. But basically, all this is a minor going to a D minor. So in the case of the minor key, we have the 1, 2, 3, 4. So it goes from 1 to 4, just like kind of a basic 1/4 minor thing that I just came up with. Real basic. That's just real basic. But the bass line is kind of the same thing as the classic rock one. You have the A, which is the root of the A minor. Then it goes A, C, bum bum, bum 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 bum. A, C, it's basically walking up the A minor chord, but it goes bing bong instead of just like that. Right? Like I said, music theory, you don't have to follow it to the exact T, which there's nothing in music theory that says you can't play a bass line that's outside of a chord. But like in the same way, I'm just trying to give y'all some guidelines. Like how I built this bass line was I'm gonna stay in the notes of this chord, but I had a bass line in my head and I wanted to replicate it, and it just worked. You know, the whole thing about staying inside your chord for your melodies and your bass lines is kind of just like it's like a starting point. You know what I'm saying? It's a good starting point. And E is also an A minor chord, so most of these notes, except for this one right here, is in the A minor chord. And then same thing for here. D. Right? The E and the G aren't in the D minor chord, but the E or the F is. The D and the F are. So that's all that that is. So then we have right here. Let's snap line.
I'm stunting on your hoes. Don't give a fuck about my dirty clothes, man.
Right. You can hear a real basic progression. And you might notice that there's only 2 chords, or 2 notes per chord in this one. And what playing only 2 notes together at once, that's called an interval. All right, it's not really a chord. It's not really a triad. Okay, triad is another name for chord. All this is an interval, and I'm not going to cover intervals in this video. Just go look up intervals, because that'll make this video way too long. But basically, going from A sharp to D is 1, 2, 3, 4 notes, and what 4-note interval is. An interval is a space between 2 notes, okay? And what a space of 1, 2, 3, 4 notes is in terms of intervals is, what is that, a minor third? No, it's a major third. Yeah, it's a major third, all right? So minor second, minor third, yeah, major third. So that's a major third interval. Right, and then from C to F, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A span of 5 notes in terms of intervals is a perfect fourth. All right. Then it walks down, and then we have F A, which from F to A is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's another major third. And then we have this one's really interesting. That's really interesting right there. A to C is 1, 2, 3, and the reason why it's interesting is because it's a minor third. Okay. So what key this is in is D minor, because I just wanted to make something in a minor key to have an example. And plus, like most rap is written in minor key. So basically, like I said, we have A sharp to D, that's a major third. Then we have C to F, that's a perfect fourth. And then we have, it's a bunch of major thirds of perfect fourths, except for this interesting interval right here, which is really nice. I like that. So, like I said, this is in D minor. And so we have that chord progression, and I wrote that first, I'm pretty sure. And this is just the root notes of that. That's just the root notes of these chords. That's the same thing, and this bass line is the root notes. It's literally just a chord progression with 808s and other instruments on the roots. Like, that's literally it. That's literally all it is. So, like I said, a tip is to go check out intervals. And really, intervals are the building blocks of chords. So all these could be turned into actual triad chords if I added another note up either above them or between them. But it just worked for this sound. I didn't want it to be really heavy. So for this trap one, we got,
Yeah, coming through, I got the coke. Fuck a bitch, hope that she choke. Yeah, shoot up your city and that ain't no joke. One hit wonder that ain't going broke. Yeah, I run through the streets, got an AK. I make these beats getting straight A's. Got 30.
and what this is just, this was written in C sharp minor. So this is a C sharp minor chord, just like an offbeat chord, okay? Right, and this right here is C sharp minor, and then here's like a trick in trap music. Like, listen to this. I know it's kind of quiet. And so basically this is C sharp minor, and so you take a C sharp minor chord and then you take the top note and you go a half step up, and that's kind of like the signature trap sound. Dun, 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 right? And then we have F sharp, D sharp, and B. That's a B minor, or a B major, I mean. B major. Right, so that's a B major chord. So then we have C sharp minor and then B major, and that's all that is, you know. But the thing right here is what makes it like the dun 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 dun. Right. So then we have this. What is this? Right. I just used the notes that were in these chords, right? And I just made like a simple melody. So G sharp and A are in this chord that I'm playing right here, right? G sharp, and then I go into A right here, and then F sharp and G sharp. See, all that stuff. So, you know, basically the takeaway is using the notes that are in the chords to make melodies and bass lines and stuff. and this 808 is just the root note, which is C sharp. So it's basically playing the root note the entire time of the key. See, if I took this and moved it up, say to G sharp or something, still works. So just play around with that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I think that's all the instruments in this. Yeah. The rest of this is just like hi-hats and snares and stuff.
Yeah, coming through, I got the coat.
And the auto-tune, I have it on D minor, but I think it sounds good on F minor.
Yeah, coming through, I got the coat. Fuck a bitch, hope that she choke. Yeah, shoot up your city and that ain't no joke. One hit wonder that ain't going broke. Yeah, I run through the streets, got an AK. I make these beats getting straight A's. Got 30 racks on 3 chains. My raps go harder than 2 chains.
Right. This house thing right here is just, mute this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, E major is the 5, A, C sharp, and E. That's A major, so that's a 5, 1, and then we have the 4. So it's 5, 1, 4. So the 5, 4, and the 1 are really go-to things, right? It's really go-to chords that you're really not gonna have a problem with. Most chord progressions are, they involve 5, 4s, and 1s. So same thing right here. I use the notes in the chord to make the lead, right? And then basically the drop is the same thing. But I have an ARP that's arpeggiating the chords, right? Same notes as the chords, they're just like, I highlighted them and I went to this drop down menu and went to tools and arpeggiate, and then mess with that. The bass is the root notes of, or not the root notes, it's just a note that's in the chord. I picked whichever one sounded the best, and yeah, so that's basically it. I found this popular chord progression. If you are looking for chord progressions, just Google popular common chord progressions and you'll be able to find a bunch of them. But these are a couple that I like. This is the, like you see up here, the 1-4 and the 5-7. Right, and then you have the 1, 4, and 5. Then you have the 1, 6, 5, or the 1, 6, 4, 5, which is the most popular chord progression ever. Like you can make any song with this. Right? And here's the 1, 6, 2, 5. Right, and I think that's it. Alright guys, this video is long as a lot, very long. It's just hard to kind of make a short video because in order to do all this stuff, you need to know a lot of information. And I promise I'm not doing this for ad revenue. But anyway guys, so just I hope you took away a lot from that lesson. If this confused you, go watch my other music theory for beginners videos. Yeah, so and with that, like and subscribe and peace out.